Alright folks, I'm jumping into my very first reaction video, and trust me, I couldn't have picked a better starting point. We are talking about two titans of Indian cinema. On one side, the filmmaker who gave us gritty realism in genre-defining films like Satya and Sarkar, GOPAL Varma. On the other hand, the filmmaker of intense emotions and raw storytelling as seen in Arjun Reddy and Animal, SANDEEP Reddy Vanga. These guys didn't just make movies, they changed the game. For reference, I am reacting to Varma and Vanga's fireside chat at Cinematica Expo, full video of which is available on RGV's YouTube channel. The link is in the description. So buckle up and let's dive right in.
Rajamouli called me and said, recently at a function, I said Sandeep is a new age Ram Gopal Varma, and I said that. But now I just now saw the film, and now I think he's Ram Gopal Varma ka Baap. After I saw the film, what I felt was your films, especially Animal, it just completely broke the convention. Because of that, I truly believe what Rajamouli said is right. You are my Baap. Yeah.
Now the conversation starts on a funny anecdote, and RGV is purposely teasing the subject by figuratively calling Sandeep his Baap, as an extension to what SS Rajamouli told him after watching Animal. The event that RGV refers to is the pre-release event of Animal, where Rajamouli said,
"But once in a while comes a director who will not only shake the audience, not only shake the industry,
I'll show them what violent film will be."
And Sandeep's reaction upon hearing it is the blushest I have seen him in any interview. Usually he is very calm and composed in interviews and doesn't get flustered by any question, but RGV literally stumps him. And here's Sandeep's reply to this.
Anything you say, I take it like an award, like a pride. Whatever you say, sir.
In multiple interviews, Sandeep has mentioned how RGV has been an influence for him, especially his first movie Shiva, which brought about a shift in Indian cinema, and naturally getting an accolade like that from RGV himself had to bring out a blush, modest side of Sandeep Reddy Vanga, rarely seen in interviews.
William Wyler, a very famous writer, was written Ben-Hur and all that. His thoughts are taken almost like a rule in cinema.
This one is an interesting one because RGV quotes William Wyler, the great German director who made Ben-Hur, the movie that went on to win 11 Academy Awards. 2 points of William Wyler are shared by RGV.
He said, whatever you show in the first part of the film, there has to be a counter in the second part. That is what which brings in totality. And second thing he said, no matter how good a scene it is, if it is not progressing the story, you should throw it out.
One classic example of such a screenplay would be The Shawshank Redemption, where the story starts with Andy's conviction and ends with his miraculous escape, which brings in the question of engagement. Keeping the audience engaged is a constant struggle for writers, and one of the tools creators use to hold attention is breaking convention.
And what you did, you threw both these into the dustbin.
It's very true that even though Sandeep Reddy Vanga went to film school, his movies don't follow any textbook template.
Now cinema is about expressing an individual's expression. Like Sandeep Vanga will express it in a certain way.
Consider the length of his films, all clocking in at over 3 hours. Yet audiences still crave for more after the credits roll. In an era where holding viewers' attention for even a fraction of that time is a challenge, Sandeep's ability to captivate for such durations is commendable. Both RGV and Sandeep here discuss the aspect of convention in detail and quote a few examples from Animal. The father-son role swap scene at the end subverts audience expectations, leaving them stunned rather than offering a predictable happy ending. Moments like Vijay's unexpected show of firepower in his sister's college elicit audible gasps from the audience, showcasing the film's ability to shock and surprise.
I always believed it is the scenes which work, not so much the story.
Now this one is a question for us because as an audience, we get to decide what works for us best. I believe once the story is known, the repeat value of a movie is the scenes. Be it the Joker's interrogation scene in The Dark Knight, the talking to the mirror scene in Taxi Driver, or Jack Nicholson's famous "You can't handle the truth" in A Few Good Men, scenes make a film memorable. Now during the discussion, RGV brings up the point of why Sandeep didn't introduce Bobby Deol's character Abrar earlier in Animal so that the audience feels continuity. And Sandeep clearly mentions that if he had done that, people would have focused on waiting for him instead of focusing on the story. And the impact that the audience got when Abrar's entry happens with the screen moving up wouldn't have happened in that case. So that decision made a plausible lukewarm response become more cinematically impactful.
The importance I give to this so-called taking shot division or how I move the camera or frame is of much more importance compared to what's happening in the script. So how much do you think taking matters?
When it comes to your films, whatever framing and the moment and everything, That itself is a story for me. That itself is an emotion for me.
Now, I have watched a lot of Ram Gopal Varma movies, and if you see movies like Satya, Sarkar or Company, you will notice the unique placement of camera angles, along with fast cuts while the story is progressing.
For example, Booth, especially that at Duplay House, if there is no thought behind the shot, then there's nothing behind it.
Sandeep mentioned the movie Booth, which had very minimal dialogues and a lot of expression-driven narrative, which became believable because of how the camera angles were set.
The only thing I remember is Ranveer's close-ups. They can't go out of my head.
That's a deliberate attempt, sir, because it is so much character-driven. I didn't want any loose ends in between. So I thought like keeping it tight will always engross the audience. And getting Ranveer on the frame is like delight.
If you take Sandeep's films for example, he breaks the so-called rule of thirds, which is a fundamental principle in visual composition widely used in photography, film and art. By positioning the subject off center, you create a more dynamic and engaging composition. This technique encourages the viewer's eye to naturally move through the image, making the imagery more pleasing and natural. But Sandeep breaks this rule by placing the subject dead center. Placing the subject in the center draws immediate attention to it. This central composition creates a sense of symmetry and balance, making the image feel more stable and harmonious.
The violence. I find there more violence than two armies fighting. Probably one is because I invested my emotion in the character and I connect to the emotion of the character. Like
The impact is still same, sir.
Similar to whether scenes work better or the story, the violence aspect is also very subjective. For both Ram Gopal Varma and SANDEEP REDDY VANGA, violence is used as a mere shock value, a means of expressing deep, often buried emotions, driving character arcs and heightening tension. One of the reasons why the fights in Animal worked, especially the Arjun Wale sequence, is the separation in the fight sequences, and the ruthless cold-bloodedness makes it a storytelling tool.
I'm sure you would have told the story to maybe some people, some close people. Did it ever occur to you that this can go really wrong?
Sir, I narrated this to Ranveer and my brother. They loved it, sir. Sole point of the film is the love story between father and son. If that goes wrong, everything will go wrong.
No matter how good a film is, if it doesn't move an audience emotionally, it will not be at the back of their minds after they leave the theatre. Now, Animal is one of those movies that have been liked or disliked for a diverse set of reasons. But personally for me, it was the father-son emotion that clicked. The very first scene when Vijay is talking about his father and later they hear the Papa Meri Jaan song, those two scenes absorb me into the film.
When will you make a horror film?
Sir, I never thought about it, sir, but I want to.
I think we'll make a fantastic horror film because it is just a shift from violence to horror is very, very thin. And I think Animal also has horror.
It's funny when RGV says that Animal had shades of horror. I mean, the machine gun scene in the college was a shocking scene for sure, as well as the post-credits, but the ones that really kept me on the edge were scenes like these.
Hey, hero, shut up!
मेरे और मेरे बहन के बीच में मत आना, समझा?
Because frankly, you didn't know what would happen. With that, we have come to the end of our video. Let us know what you think of our reaction in the comments below. If you haven't already, please click the subscribe button and ring that bell icon to never miss a video from us. And if you're interested, here is another video for you to watch. Until next time, stay tuned and keep watching.